Those are the hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Welcome to the Ask the Experts Show with local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Enjoy being educated in such topics as personal injury law, community association law, family law, bankruptcy law, along with health show topics like pain management, men's health, and dental implants. Now, sit back and enjoy today's Ask the Experts with host Steve-O.
Hey, welcome to another Ask the Experts. We've got some big news coming up in the next couple weeks that I'm sure you're going to want to listen to. You know, this is the first Thursday of the month, so that means it's K. Bender Rimbaum time. And there used to be a guy who would come in here, good guy, one of the principals in the firm, and I just want to say hello to him today in case he's listening. We want to say hi to Michael Bender. He never comes anymore. I think he became a big shot on air, but we got the best. We've got the K. Bender Rimbaum Law Firm. We've got Robert K. with us today, and I got to tell you, we have gotten so many of your questions, and apparently they're really good questions. We'll be doing those today. We're going to be talking to Robert today about the firm. We're going to talk about seminars coming up. We actually got 2 emails. I got to start sending you these emails saying how much they enjoy your seminars.
Well,
that's a nice
we're glad
compliment
to hear that, yes.
That's really nice. So welcome, Robert. I love seeing you the first Thursday of the month.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And,
hello, everybody.
You know, you've got a new office now in Tampa.
Tampa, yes.
That's really cool.
We opened the Tampa office in April of this year, and so they're growing. Sean Brown's the attorney up there. He's well known in the area. And
we're going to be having him on our show in Tampa, which is another Beasley station. You know what? It seems like by the emails, every week more and more people are listening. We're putting stuff out on Facebook. Tell everybody a little bit about your firm. Okay. And then we've actually got a caller, and we'll get to in just a minute.
K. Bender Rimbaum is a full-service firm that concentrates in the area of community association law, being condominium, homeowner association cooperatives primarily. And we operate out of 3 offices. Pompano Beach is the main office. We have an office in Palm Beach Gardens. And as you mentioned, we have an office in Tampa. We handle all aspects of community association law as it involves review of the covenants, advising the board as to what they can and cannot do relative to those covenants, collection of unpaid assessments, negotiating contracts, dealing with covenant violations through litigation, mediation, however it plays out, arbitration as well. We're kind of like the city attorney to the community, and we work with the board of directors in making sure that the community operates within the boundaries of the law. And
there's so much to know.
Been doing it continuously since 1992. Thousands of associations we've worked with in the years and currently, so we're happy to be out there.
Our listeners love you.
Well, we appreciate that.
Speaking of love, let's do a little love with Tracy. She's on the phone. Hi, Tracy. Tracy?
Hello, I'm here.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Do you have a question for Robert?
I do. I do. Is Michael there also, or just Robert?
Just me
no,
today,
we won't
Tracy.
let him in. He's busy.
Just me.
Okay. This is Tracy. Hi. I know you all. Have met you many times and respect your opinion very much.
Thank you.
I'm working with a real estate client. You're welcome. I'm working with a real estate client who has 2 felonies on his record, 25 and 28 years ago, and he's been turned down by 6 associations. He can't find a place to live. I've tried to figure out what my recourse would be. I attended the 2019 2020 legal updates, where I thought it said in your course that it was not legal anymore to discriminate against convicted felons.
Well, that's a little black and white, Tracy. It's a little more complicated than that. Discrimination is the right word to use, but it's not a protected class under the federal and state fair housing laws specifically, okay. But the HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the federal agency, has issued guidelines maybe a year and a half ago that indicate potential problems in using criminal background as a basis for denying individuals approval to purchase or rent in real property. So it has to be felonies, and it has to be of a violent nature, and it cannot be so far out in time as to no longer be meaningful. So from what you've described, you do have a felony, you do have conviction, but the timing, 28, 30 years ago, is probably too far out to be used as a basis by itself to disapprove the client you're working with. So remedy-wise, they could consider contacting, which county is it in?
It's Delray Beach.
Delray Beach. So
Palm Beach.
Beach County, the Office of Equal
Beach.
Opportunity up there in West Palm Beach is fairly aggressive when it comes to discrimination issues in housing. You might want to reach out to some people up there who may then notify the people who've been involved in disapproving for that basis, and perhaps educate them as to the limitations and their possible exposure for continuing to disapprove on that basis.
Great.
That's a long
Thank
time.
you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Good luck,
for
Tracy.
your
All right, Tracy,
comprehensive
thanks for
answer.
listening.
Thank you. Bye.
Let's- Let's go to Andrea next. Hi, Andrea.
Yes, hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
Or I should say good evening. How are you?
Good.
Good. Thank you for having me on and taking this question. It's going to be a two-part question. Dealing
See,
with
she's
the
buttering us up.
statute. What?
You're buttering us up.
Don't talk over her.
Oh,
Let's
come
hear
on
the
now.
question.
Okay, the question deals with a specific statute, 719.1061, dealing with board of directors.
Yes.
And the question is going to be posed hypothetically, but let's just say it's a small HOA with less than 250 homes.
It would have to be a cooperative if it's 719.
Okay, when you say cooperative, that means
That's a specific type of a community. There's condominiums, there's cooperatives. Cooperatives are like condominiums. They were around before condominiums, but they're different. There's two different statutes that are involved, and then there's homeowner associations. And if it's a homeowner association, then you're dealing with Chapter 720 of Florida statutes.
so 719 would not apply then in this case?
If it's a homeowners
If it's an
association,
HOA homeowners?
if it's a homeowners association, no. 720.
Well, then it's not a two-part question. It was one part, and it's answered. So that would be it.
Well, what are they doing wrong?
Well, I don't want to say that they're doing anything incorrectly. It's just that it dealt with the board president being arrears and being sent a certified letter, and then continuing to vote and actually carry on a meeting.
As a board
So
member.
that's correct.
Well, 720 does have a provision, much like 719, that if a director is delinquent for more than 90 days, in excess of $1,000, then they're off the board.
Well, it wouldn't be in excess of $1,000, so then it would not be that type of situation, I'm assuming. So if it was less than that, then it wouldn't even meet the statutory requirements, correct?
Unless there's something in the documents themselves.
Okay. No, I think that answers it, because I don't believe that there's anything in the documents. So, again, hypothetically speaking, just wanted to run that by you.
Okay, well, thank you for
Call
listening.
back again, Andrea.
I appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Enjoying the show.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Some
Bye-bye.
bright and cheery people.
Yes.
So we were talking about the firm. So the firm does, if it involves community association, you handle it.
We do. We have on our website at kbrlegal.com, under the resources provision, we have articles in Legal Morsels and Rembaum's Association Roundup, the various topical issues of interest, which is available to the general public free of charge. In fact, there is one on the Fair Housing question that Tracy asked when the federal regulations came out regarding the use of criminal background. There is an article on our website about that in the legal morsel section. So, Tracy, if you're still listening, you could go onto the website and look at that for a little more detail as to what they should be doing in these communities relative to that. We also host in our offices periodic educational seminars. We have in both our Palm Beach Gardens and our Pompano Beach office classes scheduled for the coming month. We also do what we call our road show, the Ask the Attorneys, where we go to off-site locations a couple of times during the season. Maybe 5 or 6 are scheduled for the upcoming season. The first being actually next Tuesday night, November the 12th, at the Tamarack Community Center, located at 8601 West Commercial Boulevard in Tamarack. At the Ask the Attorney seminar, we do it like a town hall format where participants come and just basically ask whatever questions they have, and we go around and get into discussions on the questions that they have. There's no agenda, so they're all different. And
I loved it.
Last I heard, we've got 90 people RSVP'd for next Tuesday so
that's
far.
A good crowd.
But we have room for more. It's a big place. And if you want to attend, you just send a check to registerkbr.com. Send an email to registerkbr.com. Is that an email address? That doesn't sound like an email address. Or go on the website to register there for that. Or call the office at 800-974-0680, and somebody will be able to guide you better for that.
We got to tell everybody, we're going to go to break. We love listener participation. If you'd like to call, if you have a question for Robert about either HOA or condo association.
Or even co-ops.
Oh, yeah, or co-ops now. Number here is 888-565-1470, and you were mentioning resource on your website. Ask the Experts is there, too. You can actually go and watch this show live on your website.
That's right.
www.kbrlegal.com.
You can see it now, and you can see it throughout the month.
Yeah, so we're on live right now. We're going to go to break. We come back. We got more. We got seminars coming up, classes coming up.
Oh, yes.
And we're going to go to those when we come back.
And lots of questions.
Is your community association looking for prompt, effective, cost-efficient, and understandable legal advice and services? You'll find that and more with K. Bender Rembaum, a full-service commercial law firm concentrating on the representation of more than 800 community associations throughout Florida. With offices in Broward and Palm Beach counties, K. Bender Rembaum assists clients in all matters of association representation, including but not limited to collection of assessments, contract negotiation, covenant review and amendment, covenant enforcement, and construction defect claims. Under the direction of attorneys Robert K., Michael Bender, and Jeffrey Rembaum, K. Bender Rembaum is dedicated to providing clients with an unparalleled level of personalized and professional service regardless of their size, and takes into account their individual needs and financial concerns. For more information, visit www.kbrlegal.com or call 954-928-0680.
We are back. This is the Ask the Expert show. We're on every Thursday from 5 to 6 and on 7:40 a.m. from 3 to 4. We've got some new news coming up in the next couple of weeks. This is our 5th year with the Ask the Expert show. We have with us on the first Thursday of the month, we have with us Robert K. of K. Bender Rembaum. They're a community association law firm, HOA, and condos. Hey, if you have a question, give us a call here. And the number here is 888-565-1470. If you're a board member, if you are a management company, or if you live in a condo or association, give us a call here, 888-565-1470. And we were talking to Robert about classes, seminars coming up the month of November.
Yes. Before I get into that, just for Andrea, who called in the last segment, I looked at the statute on the delinquency, and the $1,000 is only in condominiums. So for a homeowner association, they only need to be 90 days delinquent in any monetary obligation owed to the association, and they're disqualified from serving on the board. So that might be an issue for them to consider pursuing in that situation.
Okay.
Seminars upcoming on Tuesday, November the 19th, in the Pompano Beach office at 6:30 p.m. We have guest restrictions and screening tenants and new owners. Is it worthwhile? That's a
that's a good one.
That's a fairly popular one. It's a 1-hour course. It does have some continuing education credits associated with it, but it does get into a good amount of information on that topic, which a great number of communities have to deal with. And it is certainly worthwhile, but every community has its own individual situation, so that's one to consider. On November 13th, in our Palm Beach Gardens office, we actually have 2 seminars in the same day at 3 o'clock. There's a condominium board member certification, 3 o'clock to 5:30. Wednesday, November 13th in Palm Beach Gardens. And then at 6 o'clock, they're doing the 2020 legal update, 2020 being the laws that passed in 2019. Since October, we're able to address those issues. There weren't a lot, but there's a lot of good information that comes from that. That's at 6 p.m. till 8:30 p.m. Both of those are on November the 13th. On November 20th in Palm Beach Gardens, there's a homeowner association board member certification at 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Wednesday, November 20th. Let's see. There is one other on November 20th. Oh, they're doing double headers both days in Palm Beach Gardens at 6 p.m. Board member and officer liability insurance policies. You think you're covered? Think again. Wednesday, November 20th, Palm Beach Gardens. That's another issue that's very important for board members to be aware of, insurance and how it affects their operations.
What did we finally settle the animal situation? You never hear about the animals like you used to.
It's still an issue out there with the emotional support animals, but it's just not as involved in discussions as much anymore, because I think a lot of people understand what needs to be done and how to deal with it. There's discussions both at the state level and the federal level about tightening up on some of the abuses that have taken place, people pretending and claiming things that aren't real, and the inability for associations to pursue them in the past. But as of right now, the pendulum is still on the side of protecting people who claim to have needs for emotional support animals, and so boards need to be very careful in addressing those issues and make sure to involve counsel early on.
Well, we said we love listeners to call in, and we have a call. Hi, Andy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, Ben. You have a question for Robert?
Yes, I do. I live in an association, and I'm thinking about
Live in a what?
I live in a homeowner association.
Okay.
And I'm thinking about running for the board. And I was wondering, is there a website or is there somewhere I can go to find out about financial responsibilities of a board member? For example, if I wanted to be a treasurer, is there like a summary of legislative anything that I can refer to that would help me know how to act on a board?
To my knowledge, I would say no. There isn't anything on the website that summarizes in that fashion. There are many books out there that have been written about the areas of the law. One good book, which is updated regularly, the author's name is Pete Dunbar, talks about the homeowner association concept, and it gives you a good overview, and it's written more for lay people than for attorneys, as it addresses the various things across the board in homeowner association activities. So I believe you can even find that on Amazon. Pete Dunbar, Homeowner Association Concept. There's also one for condominiums. No financial payment for this commercial for Pete, but it's a book that I found very helpful through the years and have referred it to a number of people.
Very good, very good. Okay, Pete Dunbar, got it. And what about the highlights from the last legislative session for financial issues? I guess I heard you say there wasn't a lot of...
No, the last legislative session did not really adopt very much substantively in the area of community association operations. So nothing really has changed. From a financial perspective, it's basically you're operating a corporation and you have to operate in a particular fashion with respect to the adoption of budgets and the accounting and making sure even though you're not a profit institution, you still have to file a tax return every year, and records are open and available to inspection of all owners. Basic overview. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but
You need to have a background in finance at all to be a board member?
you don't need any specific background. Whatever you have in the business world is helpful. But it's good to involve experts in the operation of your community, be it on-site property management or off-site professional management companies. Make sure if you don't have a qualified attorney that works in the area and an accountant to handle the annual reporting that is required, and then go from there.
Thank you, Robert. I have one last question. There's a consideration of separating the accounting from the management company. Have you heard of any associations doing that? Like, what would be a good reason to separate the management from the accounting?
I have seen it done. There are some accounting firms that focus on providing the day-to-day accounting. Sometimes board members like to separate them because they don't trust it all in one place, or the management company may be good on the physical aspect of managing the property, but keeping track of the money of the association they may not be so good at. But there are management companies that are good on both sides. So really becomes one of personal taste. I would tell you that in my experience, that's more the exception than the rule. Usually they're together.
Good. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for answering my questions. One last thing. I thought I saw something in the recent legislation about someone asks for a copy of the audit and has to be provided within 5 days where normal requests are 10 days. Am I off? Do you know anything?
In the Homeowner Association Statute, Chapter 720, their financial reports are required to be provided to all owners every year. And if the board chooses, rather than mailing them out to everyone, they can send a notice saying they're available to anyone who wants them. And then once an owner asks for it, then they have to turn them over in a short period of time, the 5 or 10 days. I can't tell you off the top of my head if that is completely accurate, but there is a time frame upon request.
Right, you got to turn it over. Okay. Well, very good. Thanks again for answering my questions today.
Well, thank you for listening.
Good luck on deciding if you want to become a board member.
It's a good experience.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Apparently, registerkbr.com is a website that people can go to register for our Ask the Attorneys. So,
is most of the boards voted on first of the year? Or are they throughout the year?
Throughout the year, depending on every community's documents will identify either a specific date or allow the board to choose. And through the years, the boards have selected whatever they've selected, and then they stick with it. There's a time of year when you see more of them than other times, and I would say starting in late November into December through April is when we see the most of them. But we do see them through the other months as well.
Well, I know coming over here today, we got a text that someone who listens to the show every month wants to become president of the association, and he wanted to know what kind of background do you need to have to be president? Is it any different than a board member?
Well, a president is an officer, and a board member is a board member. There are two distinct job titles, although they are often held by the same people. A board member is elected by the owners in most cases, and they are involved in running the corporation and establishing the policies and making the major decisions as to the operation of the association. The officers carry out those policies, and they handle the day-to-day functions. And in some instances, the documents say the directors or the officers must be directors. Some they do not. Some say the president and the vice president need to be a director, but the secretary and treasurer do not. So your documents will govern on that. You don't run to be president in most places. There are some exceptions in some of our clients where their documents are written that way, but generally you run for the board, and then the board will appoint who they want. So to be the president, it's good to have a feel for parliamentary procedure under Robert's rules, because you're going to be the person who chairs the meetings and has to maintain order and make sure the meetings go smoothly. And it does help to have a strong personality so that you're not overrun by loud people in the audience who try to take over your meeting, so you can keep it on track. So those are a couple of qualifications that are good to have to be president.
Okay. Well, we're going to go to our second break. Give everybody the phone number and the website again.
The website is kbrlegal.com. To register for any of our seminars, you can go to registerkbr.com and click on the one that you want. And the telephone number is 800-974-0680.
We're going to go to break. If you'd like to call, if you have a question here for Robert, phone number here is 888-565-1470, 888-565-1470. Give us a call here. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we have more with K. Bender Rimbaum.
Is your community association looking for prompt, effective, cost-efficient, and understandable legal advice and services? You'll find that and more with K. Bender Rimbaum, a full-service commercial law firm concentrating on the representation of more than 800 community associations throughout Florida. With offices in Broward and Palm Beach counties, K. Bender Rimbaum assists clients in all matters of association representation, including but not limited to collection of assessments, contract negotiation, covenant review and amendment, covenant enforcement, and construction defect claims. Under the direction of attorneys Robert K., Michael Bender, and Jeffrey Rembaum, K. Bender Rembaum is dedicated to providing clients with an unparalleled level of personalized and professional service regardless of their size, and takes into account their individual needs and financial concerns. For more information, visit www.kbrlegal.com or call 954-928-0680.
You are listening to the Ask the Experts show with host Steve-O. We will be right back with more experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Join us every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Now, get ready for more Ask the Experts.
And we are back for our second half of our show. If you missed the dates and times of the seminars and the classes, we will be repeating them the second half of this show. And if you have a question you'd like to call in, now's the best time. We've got some open lines, 888-565-1470. 888 565 1470. This is what I just call it the K Bender Rimbaum Hour. That's what is first Thursday of the month. We are so lucky to have, I think, one of the finest law firms when it comes to community association law, HBO, condo, and these are the people that you want. If you've got a question, I guarantee you they will steer you right. They've been doing it for about 4 years here on the show every month, and looks like we've already got our first call. So I know you are so proud of your service that you provide, the service end of it. And I know because every time I've come to your office, there's always 2 or 3 women in the front. That's a lot for people to answer phones, ask questions.
Yes, we have live reception.
No, it's good.
Live on the phones.
But that's, you
don't
can tell
call
it.
and get lost in a telephone loop. I've had that many times calling other places. It's very frustrating, but no, we have people answering the phones and getting you to the right party as quickly as possible and keep your wait time to a minimum.
Well, we just told people we would get to them right away, and we've got a phone call. I think it's Michael. Hi, Michael.
Yes. Hi. My name is Michael. I have one question. I'm selling a condo in one of the communities in Coconut Creek, here in Florida. And a couple of years ago, after I bought the property, they voted against renting, so it's no rentals now. And I can still rent because it's like grandfathered in, but now that I'm selling the apartment, it turns out to be that it's less desirable because of the vote. And is there anything I can do, or I mean, I know the majority voted, and is there anything I can do to sell the apartment with the right to rent? I mean, I still have the right to rent, but what about the prospect buyers? I mean, that technically it kind of reduces value of the condos. I don't know why they.
Well, it could have that effect. Back in 2005-ish, the Florida Supreme Court was called upon to address this issue in a community similar to yours, where the community voted after the condominium had been in effect for a number of years to eliminate leasing. And the Supreme Court said that when you buy in a condominium, you take subject to the governing documents and the possibility that they could be amended in a material and substantive way. And they upheld the amendment and said that all the owners were bound by that. The Florida legislature, in reaction to that case, adopted changes to the statute in Chapter 718 to provide that if the community adopts an amendment that limits the ability of an owner to rent, specifically, then only those owners who vote in favor of the amendment are bound by it, and new owners after the amendment is effective. So in your case, if you did not vote in favor of the amendment, you could continue to rent. But any purchaser of yours is going to be bound by that restriction, and there is no relief from that under the law at the present time.
No, unfortunately. Well, thanks for your advice.
All right, Michael. Sorry for
Thanks,
the bad
Michael.
news.
Thank you.
He was calling all the way from Las Vegas.
Well,
Let's go
at
to
least
our
his
next
phone
caller.
is from Las Vegas.
Yeah. Let's go to our next caller. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, good evening. Hi, guys. How are you both doing?
Good.
Doing well, thanks.
Good. Well, our community has a closed-circuit TV station, similar to like a government channel as part of our cable agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And what would you say are the pros and cons of video recording the board meetings and playing them on the community TV station at a later time to help with transparency and such? Could it bite us in the behind?
Generally speaking, anyone within the community has the entitlement to attend board meetings and record them both audially and visually. So from that perspective, any owner can do that. putting them on your website will help to make all the owners who are paying attention aware of what goes on when they can't attend the board meeting. It's not a substitute for minutes. It's just basically a recording of what took place. Minutes, of course, don't include all the details of what he said, she said, just actions that are taken. So minutes often don't give you the flavor that watching the video would do. Where it could hurt is obviously if people aren't careful in what they say or do. There's a record of it that other people can use to perhaps the detriment of the association. It would not be unheard of for board member without thinking to make a comment that could be viewed as somehow discriminatory. It's not typically something that's in your minutes. It's not part of your business. It's not the intent, but yet there's now a record of it, and somebody could use that to perhaps bring a claim against the board member or the community as a whole, particularly if that's being broadcast. So, there are certainly exposures that are enhanced by doing that.
Well, just to expand on that, and this will be the last part of the question, and thank you for that. What if it was edited to have like an edited version of the minutes, where basically it would be like a video version of the minutes?
The high points?
Would that be something that's a little bit better, you think?
If you're editing it, then it certainly would be safer, but, unless you have experts on everything, there is the possibility that something slips through.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for your take on that. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thanks for listening.
All right. Good night.
Some good questions today.
It's a good
Different
question.
questions today.
Yes. Always nice to have different questions, which is at our Ask the Attorneys seminars. We have all sorts of different questions that come up that could surprise you.
Well, it looks like what happens is people bring their questions. They hear other people ask questions. All of a sudden, they think of more questions. And it goes by, it's the fastest 2 hours I've ever seen.
It does go by quickly.
So, we want to thank everybody for taking the time to write into the show. And I've got we had a lot this time. So let me see if we can ask Robert some of these questions. This is from Angela in Jupiter. They go to your seminar, and they said they've learned more from your seminars than other seminars they've gone to. So that's a nice compliment.
Appreciate that, Angela.
Yeah. Several of our board members listen to your show also, which is good. We have a committee, and we've been going over our articles. In regards to Florida Statute 718, anything mandatory that requires a 3-year reserve study. Explain the 3-year reserve study.
Well, there used to be something in 718 that indicated specific time frames for doing a reserve study. What a reserve study involves is condominium laws require associations to have mandatory reserves for specific items: painting, paving, roofing, and any item of deferred maintenance of over $10,000. And it does also allow associations to present to the unit owners the opportunity to reduce or eliminate reserves on an annual basis, but without a vote of the owners, the association is required to fully fund reserves every year. The purpose of a reserve study is an independent engineer or some form of an expert will evaluate these items or any of the items that are within your required reserves and give you basically a useful life of them so that you can use that in your reserve calculations. You are required to use generally accepted accounting methods that's established by the American Accounting Association. And based upon that, they call for periodic reserve studies. It might be 5 years. It's a good idea from a business perspective to do it not less than 5 years because from wear and tear, things change. And you don't want to be stuck with under-reserving because you didn't do a due diligence to make sure.
Okay, so Do you get into this? Your firm get involved in this at all?
No, it's not something the lawyers do. It's something that is done by engineers or experts in roofing or physical aspects of the condominium.
Here's John Boca. I'm the president of our condo board. Our treasurer wants to move our reserve account to another bank account so that she can use the reserve account to pay back a loan. Is that legal? The loan was to build a new seawall.
Okay. If the reserves are set aside for the seawall, then yes. If the reserves are for anything else, then no. I mean,
easy.
where the bank account is not the issue. It's what you use the reserve funds for. The statutes also provide that reserves that are specifically categorized for the items you're required to maintain them can only be used for those purposes unless the unit owners vote to use them for something else. So that there's two things unit owners get to vote on with respect to reserves. If the board chooses to present it, whether or not to waive them or reduce them on an annual basis, and they can vote on whether or not to use established reserves for an alternate purpose. If a board uses them without an owner vote, that's a violation of Florida statutes, subjects you to the enforcement action by the Division of Condominium Enforcement Section, and can result in significant fines against the association, as the division has adopted a schedule of fines last year, which is much higher than they used to be, and something like that would be considered a higher violation.
Okay. This guy wrote me 3 times. He said, you didn't ask my question last time, so I have to make sure I ask you.
You better do that.
This is James in Hollywood.
James,
We love you,
your
James.
question.
You're a good listener.
It's good to be persistent.
He never misses a show. He sits on the board of his condo association that has 7 seats.
Well, I wonder who their lawyer is.
Yeah. 2 seats have been empty. I'm the secretary. Several members don't like meeting when it comes to time about business. They're always difficult to reach before budget. What can we do as a board? Can we meet without a quorum?
You can meet, but you can't take any action. That's
So
the problem. In Florida, as it applies to condominiums, the only way a board can take action is at a meeting at which a quorum has been established, meaning in most instances a majority of the total number of seats on the board. So if you have 7, you have to have at least 4 board members physically there or on the telephone or some other device that can be seen or heard from both sides. And once established, if somebody leaves, the business can continue, but you have to at least establish a quorum. The other way that a board can take action is by a written resolution signed by 100% of the board. So you need the participation of at least the quorum in order to operate, and 100% if you're going to do it outside of a meeting. If you're not having a sufficient participation by board members, typically you'd have to address that politically at your elections, or it's possible you're not getting enough people that are willing to run, so you can't replace them. You can recall them. If your bylaws provide, there could be a provision that considers consecutive missed meetings without excuse to be a resignation, at which point the seat becomes vacant and then the board can fill it with somebody else. Anybody who serves on a board should do so with an intent to participate. Directors are supposed to direct, and you can't do that if you're not participating. You have to have a budget every year, so it's important to attend at least the budget meeting in order to make sure one can be established.
Is it hard to be a board member if you're a snowbird?
It's harder, but not necessarily hard, because you're allowed to participate by phone.
Okay. Well, it's time for our break. This is our final break. We're going to get Robert to tell us again about seminars coming up. If you'd like to call here, the number is 888-565-1470. Give everybody the number to the office.
You can reach us at 800-974-0680, or you can go to our website at kbrlegal.com.
We'll be right back.
Is your community association looking for prompt, effective, cost-efficient, and understandable legal advice and services? You'll find that and more with K. Bender Rembaum, a full-service commercial law firm concentrating on the representation of more than 800 community associations throughout Florida. With offices in Broward and Palm Beach counties, K. Bender Rembaum assists clients in all matters of association representation, including but not limited to collection of assessments, contract negotiation, covenant review and amendment, covenant enforcement, and construction defect claims. Under the direction of attorneys Robert K., Michael Bender, and Jeffrey Rembaum, K. Bender Rembaum is dedicated to providing clients with an unparalleled level of personalized and professional service regardless of their size, and takes into account their individual needs and financial concerns. For more information, visit www.kbrlegal.com or call 954-928-0680.
We are back. This is our last 15 minutes of the show. Just remember, K. Bender Rembaum, they're on with us the first Thursday of every month. If you have a question, you can call us 888-565-1470. And Andrea, who listens to the show all the time,
Andrea called in.
She's been trying
earlier,
to call in.
And I did clarify after the first break that a board member in a homeowner association that is delinquent in a monetary obligation for more than 90 days would be automatically disqualified from continuing service on the board. While that owner can pay their account current, that doesn't resolve the problem. They're off the board upon the delinquency. The only way they can get back on the board is if the board appoints them back on to fill the vacancy. There is no $1,000 limit in a homeowner association. That would be in condominiums.
Okay, I hope you got that. Here's another person who listens all the time, too. Says, I never miss one of your shows. It's Babs. Her name is Babs.
Hey, Babs.
Babs.
Hope you're listening.
What movie was that from? There was a Babs. Anyway,
There's lots of movies.
Raton. Is it correct the director's fee, some of the directors get paid,
They could.
should be determined by the owners? Who makes a motion for the increase fees to the directors? She must be a director.
Well, that gets complicated. She said condo, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In a condominium, you're only allowed to pay a director for service as a director if the documents authorize it or it's voted upon by the membership. So check your documents first. Quite often, the documents are silent on it. They may say no compensation. If the documents say no compensation, I don't think the owner vote can override that. You'd have to amend your documents to put that in, which would be a vote of the owner. So in that way, the owners would be voting in favor of it. Typically, the owner vote is to allow the compensation. It may not be for a specific amount. It would depend on how they go about the approval of the compensation in the first place. It could be done by the board. It may require an owner vote. It really depends on the circumstances involved in the adoption of the compensation in the first place. The vast majority of condominiums, homeowner association, no pay for directors as directors. In order to provide services, there's other hoops they got to jump through in order to do that, and quite often they cannot. So if a director is looking to be compensated for services that are not director related, the association should get with their counsel to determine whether or not that can be done.
Okay. Now we want to get, in case people missed it, people
Okay,
getting
upcoming
their card.
seminars. Ask the Attorneys next Tuesday, November 12th, from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Tamarack Community Center, located at 8601 West Commercial Boulevard. You can RSVP to that by going to registerkbr.com, pick the Tamarack Ask the Attorney seminar, and you'll be able to register online. It's good to register because we provide food at these things, and we want to make sure we have enough for everybody. In Pompano Beach, guest restrictions and screening tenants and new owners. Is it worthwhile? November the 19th, 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. in the Pompano Beach office. In Palm Beach Gardens, we have a couple of double headers in November. On November 13th at 3 p.m., condominium board member certification. You need to be certified in order to serve on your board in condominiums, HOAs, and cooperatives. You have multiple ways to get this certification. One is to attend a qualified course, which we are qualified, and that's why we offer these. We have condominium board certification on November 13th in Palm Beach Gardens, and homeowner board member certification on November 20th in Palm Beach Gardens, both at 3 p.m. The doubleheader part of those days, November 13th at 6 p.m. is the 2020 legal update discussing all the changes in legislation, plus some other things that the state requires us to talk about from 2019. That's at 6 p.m. on November 13th at the Palm Beach Gardens office. November 20th, the second half of that doubleheader, will be board members and officer liability insurance policies. You think you're covered? Think again. At 6 p.m., Palm Beach Gardens, November 20th. We may be offering more on that topic at later dates, but right now we've got that. Register KBR.com for any of these to sign up. And if you do sign up, please come, because others may not be able to if you don't, because we've reserved your spot.
You do get crowds.
We do. We have more room in Pompano Beach than we do in Palm Beach Gardens. Palm Beach Gardens, if they get to 20, it might be on top of each other. So, but we can fit over 50 in Pompano Beach, so we're able to take care of that.
You're not going to believe who's on the phone.
I don't believe it.
Andrea,
you're back.
Hi, Andrea.
Okay, I am not a stalker. Just want to make that clear.
That's okay. We won't charge you.
Thanks.
Yet.
No, I have a subsequent follow-up question.
No, because we didn't get to that the first time.
Yes. So the part two of the actual question was, if there was an annual meeting, hypothetically speaking, and subsequent to that delinquency and those issues, the president voted and was still in charge of the meeting after being told he was not necessarily in charge of the meeting, and handed it over to the CMA, would there be any repercussions, or would there be anything to follow up on? Could the homeowners have a do-over of the annual meeting?
Well, the meeting you're talking about was the annual meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
Hypothetically.
Well, the president, first you'd have to check your documents to see if the president is required to be a director, because a disqualification from being a director may not apply if he doesn't have to be a director to be the president. Quite often that is a requirement, but you want to be sure. If he's not a director and is required to be one, then he would no longer be qualified to be the president. But the body, the membership, could appoint anyone they want to chair the meeting, and if they want him, they could. As far as do-over, I'm not sure that anything about his disqualification from what you've described would require a do-over, because it was an annual meeting and members were voting on who's going to be on the board. Hopefully there was enough of a slate to have an election. If not, then there'd be a vacancy in his seat that the board would have to fill later on.
So when you say the body and the membership would make the decision, if the body didn't vote on that and it was just like ramshod, straight through?
Not all that unusual. Robert's rules are something a lot of places don't follow very closely, but it's not a legal mandate. It's more suggestion. So that's not going to invalidate, from a legal perspective, the actions taken by the community at that meeting. But if the individual refuses to step down, then owners may have to seek the assistance of an attorney from outside in order to make that happen.
And where does a management company fall in all of that? Because they work for the...
Stuck between a rock and a hard place, probably.
Okay.
They're not supposed to be giving legal advice or taking sides if they can avoid it, but they are supposed to follow the mandate of the board as the majority indicates and whoever their designated contact person is. And they are supposed to follow the guidance of the association attorney, so perhaps the association attorney might be able to assist in that as well, but you may need outside attorney to get that into the hands of the association attorney.
I hope that answered your questions.
I'm sorry, but we're running out of time.
I know, I got you. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
I really
Andrea.
appreciate it. Now,
All right. Good luck with that.
Give everybody the phone number and the website.
KBRlegal.com, 800-974-0680. Or you can write to info@kbrlegal.com, and your question or need will be passed along. Go on our website. You can schedule an interview for your community. Most everything you need.
Thanks for all your calls today. We will be back with more Ask the Experts next week. Have a good week.
See you next month.
Thanks for listening to the Ask the Expert Show, featuring interviews with local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Call our office at 888-574-6999 to become one of our experts on the show. And tune in again next week for more Ask the Experts with Steve-O.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored